evening. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee. It is May 12th, 2026. We are right at 7 p.m. We are going to start our meeting as we typically do. That's with a prayer, followed by the pledge. And tonight we have a special honor, and that's Senior Firefighter Matthew Elliott, who's going to provide our prayer tonight. Matt, appreciate very much you being here, and appreciate very much what your day job is, too, and what you do for us every day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and thank you for the opportunity to do this. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to do this tonight, but any chance I have to glorify God, I'm there for that. So let's do that. Let's pray. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your Son, Jesus Christ, and sending him here for us to die on the cross for our sins, Lord. I pray that you be with all of these people tonight as we discuss the goings-on of the city. I pray that calm minds and good thoughts are with all tonight. Lord, I pray that you just watch over the health and the wellness of this city and its residents and its employees. And I pray that you be with all the people here that have anything heavy on their heart, and they know that they can come to you and lay it at the feet of Jesus. Lord, in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Again, that's Senior Firefighter Matthew Elliott. Thank you very much. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, mine's back there. I'm going to entertain a motion. We accept the agenda that was provided in your packets. We have a motion from Alderman Ward, a second from Alderman Bergdorf, I believe. Alderman Goodwin.
Yeah, I would like to amend the agenda to add under presentations, item E, a presentation from Lakeshore Committee regarding National Safe Boating Week, please.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Collins. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor of adding item E under presentations as National Safe Boating Week, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a couple presentations, and the first one, I need to see Mr. Todd Burnham.
You need to see me, Mayor?
Hey, Mayor. I don't think you voted to accept the agenda.
All those in favor of accepting the agenda as has been amended, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. Thank you. Let me tell you about this guy here. Just right there is good. So Todd's been on a golf course commission for a long time. Probably the most or second most longest serving person on there. Has seen a lot happen in the time that he's been on there. But let me read this. Whereas the Hendersonville Golf Course Commission was established to oversee the operation, maintenance, improvement, and continued development of Country Hills Golf Course, and whereas Todd Burnham faithfully served on the Golf Course Commission from 2015 through 2026, providing leadership, guidance, and support for numerous enhancements and improvements to the Country Hills Golf Course, and whereas throughout his tenure, Todd Burnham demonstrated a strong commitment to the citizens of Hendersonville and continues to do so. I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the entire Board of Mayor and Aldermen, do formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation, and urge all citizens of Hendersonville to join us in honoring Todd Burnham for his dedicated service to all the residents of this community. I don't think many people understand that we have a five-person board of directors for a golf course, that we don't run it, but we have people that understand golf and understand business that have done a fantastic job. We went from 8 years ago to the city using tax dollars to subsidizing the golf course, to Todd and the other four getting us in the black by more than $200,000 sitting in the bank after we've made significant improvements there. So I very much appreciate what you've done, and I have a little bit of a gift here. Somebody said you don't have enough golf shirts.
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, that's almost big enough.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it very much. Do you want to say a couple things? Do you want to speak? Do you want to say a couple words? Okay.
Maybe it's going to be too large.
Okay.
I don't know. Thank you, Mayor Clary. Thank you, board members. I appreciate your confidence in me and in the commission. We have seen a lot of change, as the mayor said, and we've had a lot of help in that. And we've had great support from the board, and we have that has improved over the years. Thanks to the board, thanks to Alderman Eddie Robertson, and he's our liaison from the board. Andy Gilley is our liaison from the staff, and he's been very supportive of us with labor and resources. But I just wanted to say that. I have brought members of my family with me tonight that I'd like to introduce to you. My dearly beloved June, and next June's my first grandchild, Erin Salas, and my dear daughter, my first daughter, only daughter, and it's Elizabeth Roberts, her cousin. I believe you are cousins, don't you? Chuck Roberts, my son-in-law, and my oldest grandson is Michael Roberts and his friend Layla, and I appreciate them and their support also. We had a real boost in rounds played during the pandemic. That was a thing that kicked us up. Now, we expected, the board and our management company expected that to drop off after the pandemic, but it didn't. We continue to, our rounds played and income continues to increase. I talked to David Battis, our president of our management company, and he said that actually is a nationwide trend for municipal golf courses. So apparently we got a bunch of newbies out there during the pandemic, and the bug caught quite a few of them apparently, because they're coming back, and we do. But I appreciate your thanks again, and good luck, and I still plan to get out there and play some. Yeah, I'll wear my golf shirt.
Yeah. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So next we have a proclamation from James Dunn. He is in charge of our legislative engagement, and he's going to speak for a few minutes about what he's accomplished and what he anticipates with the General Assembly coming up. So James, you're on.
Well, it's always an honor and a privilege to be here before this board. I want to thank the mayor and this board for the opportunity to do what we've done. We've been doing this for 3 legislative sessions now. We've had a good amount of success. There is about, and I've explained this before, 4,000 pieces of legislation that move through the General Assembly every 2 years. We've got a great Sumner County delegation and Representative William Lamberth, Johnny, of course, Garrett, who won't be with us after this year at the General Assembly, William Slater, and then, of course, Farrell Hill, who is our senator and also serves as Speaker Pro Tem. The Speaker Pro Tem, by the way, is appointed by the Lieutenant Governor, who is Speaker of the Senate. And our Speaker of the Senate is retiring, so things will start to change up a little bit, and we also will have a new governor. We are in the very last year of Governor Lee's administration, so all of this will be changing. There are, I guess, over 400 cities in this state and 95 counties, and so sometimes to have a voice among the bunch can be very, very beneficial. I think aside from our big 4 cities in Tennessee that you all know about, Johnson City, Germantown, Sevierville, Murfreesboro, and Middle Tennessee, several others actually do have lobbyists that are blessed enough to be able to do that, and we do too. And so that's very helpful, in particular when we have issues that are important to the community that might be important to some cities and perhaps not others. I'll give you an example. Out of every crisis comes an opportunity. and all the tragedy that we dealt with recently with NES, we were able to amend legislation to ensure that there would be a spot on the NES board representative of Sumner County. There was a resolution from the city of Hendersonville some years ago to be able to do that, and so we finally were able to do that this session. We did have a piece of legislation, a REIT bill, Real Estate Investment Trust bill. Y'all know we've had issues with people who have REIT ownership being able to get a hold of the actual owners who manage these properties. The Tennessee Municipal League ran a similar bill. It didn't get through committee. This year we were able to pass that through all of the committees and the House floor. Unfortunately, they did not take it up on the Senate side, so it's one of those battles that continue. The mayor has a copy of all the legislation that we have tracked, so, and also council does too, and I believe that you all do. If you don't, let them know, let myself know. We certainly can get a copy to you on all of the bills that we've tracked and monitored, so that you know, not to be redundant. I know it's not news, but when a law or when a legislation is enacted, it's enrolled as a public chapter before it becomes law. There's a process where the governor signs it or doesn't, can veto it, whatever, before it becomes law. So a lot of the things that we're talking about here, they have been enacted, but may not necessarily be public chapter because they await the signature of the governor, that kind of thing. We just got through session, and then we had a special session on congressional redistricting, so this is sort of fresh. But some of the things that we have worked on, there was and I'll try to be quick with this. I know you got a lot of business to take up. There was a accessory dwelling units bill that would have preempted local governments at the state level. What that would mean then is in existing neighborhoods, people would have been able to erect those ADUs without authority from the city and overview from the city. We defeated that legislation. We thought that was important to the integrity of our community here, and for you guys to retain the autonomy that you need, that our residents want. There also was an effort to preempt local governments regarding building materials and zoning for modifications to existing properties. That would have also interfered with your autonomy on modifications and standards on it, because what would have happened is basically the building structure of the time, whatever new modifications they would make would be retroactive to that particular year build. So you wouldn't be able to apply new modern standards. We defeated that bill. There were three pieces of legislation that would have capped property taxes. I think we're all for lower taxes. But maybe what some people don't realize is with the mandates that local governments have for services, if your property taxes were capped, you would lose the autonomy then to be able to adjust as needed. And whenever a local government, should it ever become insolvent, the state would take over through the comptroller. So it's just not good fiscal planning and policy to cap that. We need the flexibility to be able to fund things as needed, and to do so responsibly. So we defeated those pieces of legislation. There was another bill where counties would have preempted local governments with respect to annexation, so that the county would have had to have checked off the local government's efforts in annexing before it could be approved. We've been independent in the way that the city and the county operates when it comes to annexation, so that would have been a lot different. We defeated that. We felt that to have the autonomy at the local level was very important for both the cities and the counties. There was a government tort liability piece of legislation that would have increased lawsuits for local governments. It would have removed certain caps or increased those caps for what they could recover from the city, which then of course would have resulted in higher premiums for our cities and then paying more money. So we defeated that legislation and were fortunately successful in that as well. There was another bill, there actually were two of these bills where if you guys had zoned in some kind of a way and someone made the subjective argument that by virtue of doing that it devalued the property, they could then sue the city and recover in that way. That would be a new lawsuit. You can't do that today. we defeated that legislation as well because, again, that would have increased premiums for our local governments. There was an open records exception bill that we worked on to help be enacted. That will allow you all now to have confidential interviews and things with respect to executive director level positions. A lot of local governments, and this is sort of a collective interest, we're fearful that people who are existing employees with local government might be fearful from applying and competing for jobs because of disclosure, and so autonomy. The hope is that that will increase the number of applicants that you have for director level positions. So we passed that. Hopefully that will be a good thing. There's a tiered fine piece of legislation that would allow for repetitive violators to be fined in a tiered way, which is above and beyond the regular $50 that
We don't have anything like that going on in Hendersonville.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, those are the main pieces of legislation that we worked on. Again, I think there may be, I don't know, 100+ bills that we tracked and monitored overall. A lot of things we're tracking because the code can be opened to be amended and do various different things. But those are the key pieces of legislation that we worked on. Wanted to give you an update today on that. And with that, Mayor, any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I don't have anything further, I don't think.
Any questions from our board members? Alderman Robertson.
The tiered fines that you mentioned,
Yes, sir.
that would be in municipal court, where our city judge would be able to, for repeat offenders, fine them additional fines? Is that right?
That's right. I mean, we need to work with our council here. This is a new law, and make sure that we're doing things as they're supposed to be done. But it's my understanding that it would give us a new mechanism to deal with that. Those things, I guess, can always be appealed to a different kind of court, but that's my understanding. So, again, we've not applied this yet. It's a new law. But in fact, it's not even effective until July. So we got a little bit of time to plan for this, but it's my understanding that would be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Martin.
Yeah, I just want to get a copy of the list of bills that you're tracking.
Yes, sir.
Could you send it to all of us? I didn't see it in the packet.
It wasn't in the packet. I'll email it again.
Okay.
I'll make a note right now.
My apologies, Alderman.
No worries.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Dunn? James, appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And we meet with the mayor on a regular basis. There's ongoing things that we also work on, transportation, different issues. I know we've had some lighting issues, Exit 8, different things that we've worked on, and so hopeful to continue to be helpful. So, again, thank y'all for the opportunity.
Oh,
Y'all-
hold on.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, it appears to me that both at the federal and at the state level.
Yes, sir.
That there have been attempts to limit a local's jurisdiction on zoning.
Okay.
So I hope that you will, if we retain you, I hope that you will watch that closely, because I want us to do everything we can to make sure that we retain authority on local zoning and that the state doesn't try to preempt
Alderman,
locals.
we have had, and board, we have had a number of attempts to do just that. And we're increasingly seeing more of those in the name of low income or affordable housing. And so there have been things that have passed that incentivize local governments to partner with builders in ways, but it's voluntary. So anything that the state has moved or put forward to preempt, we certainly have been fighting. We'll continue to do that. We will see more of that legislation. There are other associations with interests in that. Some of them are not-for-profits, Home Builders Association, different folks have an interest in some of that. So I think we'll continue to see that. Thank you. That's an important point.
James, thank you.
Thank y'all. Have a blessed night. See you.
So next on our agenda is a presentation of pay study and the information that's part of that. We had that earlier, some of it in the general committee. So I'm going to ask Jason and Beth to come on up, but I want to sort of set the stage here a little bit. Is when somebody is hired, we don't really name a salary or a pay rate for them. what we do is we go to our pay tables and we go to a line and we go to a cell and we figure out where their experience is and where they fit. Each position for the city of Hendersonville fits on one of those lines of our pay tables. So every position fits on one of those lines. We have 5 ways of increasing somebody's pay. One is through the COLA, and what the COLA does is we change the numbers in the. I'm sorry, no, we don't. We change the numbers in each cell. Okay.
On the pay table.
On the
correct?
pay tables. A merit increase, we move them to the next column, which will. So that those are 2 ways that that folks are provided pay raises. So the COLA is approved by BOMA. The merit is the money's approved by BOMA, but then the supervisors and the department heads actually approve the person for that merit increase. We also have reclassifications, which we're about to talk about right here. And I'll let Beth tell you how to do that. The reclassifications also have to be done by BOMA. We also have people who are promoted to director. That is also a board decision. And when that person is promoted to director, with that comes the compensation that I recommend with Jesse's help. And so not only do we vote to hire that person, we also vote what their pay is going to be. When we have a promotion that's not to director, say somebody goes from a firefighter to senior firefighter. That is a decision that's not made by BOMA. It's a decision that's made by the staff, whether it be the CEO, the fire chief, the supervisors. So that's a decision that's made by staff. That is the only decision that is really made solely by staff, is when a person who is not moving up to director is moving up, but does get a promotion. And our expectations there is that they will receive a 7.5% raise. So they will move on that. They will move up a table for them to receive that, and we will plug them into the correct cell that they will have that. So having said all that, trying to give you a foundation of how we set somebody's pay and how people are given pay raises, I'm going to ask Jason to go from here.
Sure, I appreciate it, thank you. So, the board had voted on doing a pay study, and so now we're doing them every 4 years, so we're engaged with BTA consultant to do the pay study. Beth Thompson is with BTA, she's our pay consultant that we've been working with. When we do reclassifications, if there's budget pieces that are tied to that, that's often what will come before general committee and then go to BOMA. So, but for this situation, or for where we're at right now, Beth is going to give you an overview of the pay study, what we've done so far, where we're at. Other components of our study include benefits and differentials. That's part of a separate piece that we'll be working on after that. But this we wanted to make sure was in place in time for the budget. So that's why we're looking at pay first, and then we'll look at benefits and differentials afterwards. So with that, Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
And I asked Beth, and she invites you to interrupt her with your questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. So again, my name is Beth Thompson. I'm with BTA Consulting. Just a real quick history on me and BTA Consulting. We were formerly, some of you may have heard of Burris Thompson and Associates. We've just shortened the name to BTA. My associate, Steve Thompson, has been working with cities and counties throughout Tennessee for about 30 years, and I've been with him for about 5. 100% of our work is with public sector employers, cities, counties, a few utilities and school systems. So we're very familiar with how cities and counties work, and this is all we do. So that is just a tiny bit of that history. Previously, I did work for the private sector, but I was in compensation for that employer as well. So I have more than 5 years of experience of compensation, just not all of it is public sector. So tonight, oh, that buzzes, it's different. Surprised me, sorry. What I wanted to go over this evening is, for our agenda in this presentation, I would like to talk to you about the process that we went through for the pay study, at least up to this point, what we found in going through this, the recommendations we've put together for you, and the results. And as the mayor said, anytime you have any questions, feel free to interrupt right then, because I know if you're anything like me, you'd forget them by the end. So don't want to lose your questions. So throughout the process, what we do a full job analysis for every job in the city. We compile market data for all of those jobs, analyze all of that, develop or revise the pay structure. Then we put together employee salary adjustment recommendations, and at some point in time, we also discuss pay policy considerations. So that's the overall process. So let's get into some of the details. The button will work. For the job analysis, the first thing for the whole study, the first thing we do is we sat down with the mayor, with Jesse, and with Jason to discuss what are the objectives for this pay process, the pay study process. What do we need to focus on? What is our target market? What are we trying to achieve as far as our market rates? Do we want to be in the middle of the pack? Do we want to lead the pack? That sort of thing, as far as where are we targeting our market rates. So we discussed a lot of that with the study kickoff. Jason provided us with the job descriptions, we did job questionnaires with all of the employees. Every employee in the city was offered, or at least to my knowledge, most of them were offered the opportunity to fill out a job questionnaire. All departments were given those. The only reason I say most employees is in a position where there may have been 20 or 30 employees in the same position, not every one of those employees may have filled out a job questionnaire. But yes, sir.
What is the example of one of those positions?
A police officer, firefighter.
Because there's several people in that particular
Yes.
position.
So-
You just ask one or two, or a small sampling.
We gave the job questionnaires were given to all of the department heads, and it was up to the department head in that particular situation if he wanted to ask every single police officer to fill out the questionnaire. That was entirely up to him, or every single firefighter. I don't believe all of them did fill those out, but for every other job, we did get pretty much every employee filling those out.
Thank you.
But they were all given that opportunity. It's important to have the employees as part of the process, to get
yeah.
them to participate.
Absolutely.
And we are also going to be doing the job description rewrite, and so that's valuable information in that respect as well. But it gives us, one of the things that's very important in this process for myself and my colleague, that, as I mentioned, we know cities and counties pretty well. We know how they operate. We know what departments exist in cities and counties and what they're supposed to do. But every single one is set up just a little bit differently. And everybody wears just a little bit different hats. And so it's very important for us to understand what those different hats are and what different jobs are in each of our clients, how the organization is set up, and all of those things. Because when we get to job matching and getting those market rates for every job, it's very important we understand the nuances that make Hendersonville, Hendersonville. Because you're not like everybody else. Your jobs are unique to you. And so we want to make sure that when we're pulling market data for your jobs, it's appropriate and as accurate as we can get. You're welcome. So we used the job descriptions, the job questionnaires, and we also had department head meetings with every department head up front to discuss the organization of their department and what their employees did. We also, at the very end, had another follow-up meeting after the job table was built and discussed all of that after the fact. So we had 2 different meetings with every department head. This is the overall objectives for the pay study, essentially ensuring that employee pay is aligned with their job duties, that it's fair across all departments, that salaries are properly placed within the pay structure, the jobs are properly placed, and it's consistent across all departments. One of the things that we did up front with the administration is we selected the public sector benchmarks that would be used to compare. We have 15, I guess, that are local, all in Middle Tennessee, considered to be your direct labor market competitors. And one of the things that our firm does that's unique is that we do a survey across the state of Tennessee every 2 years to request salary data. This is actual salary data, so what these different employers are actually paying their employees. We don't look at their pay tables. We look at what are they actually paying their employees right now. And so this is the year we were updating all of that, so we have fresh data, and we get it and use this to determine or to pull market data for each of your jobs.
Hold on, Jeff, Alderman Sass, can you say that again?
Yeah. You said that you check every 2 years, you send out requests from, and this is municipalities, I'm assuming, and counties?
Yes, cities and counties throughout the state. We have 111 participants in our current survey, and that includes 10 utilities.
Okay, so out of the number that you sent out, what percentage did you get a response from
Well,
with full data?
that's an interesting question. I would say we have, of the ones we requested, we have about 80 to 85%. But the reason for that is several of those are open records requests at this point. Quite a few are voluntary and they participate with us every year. But because we are determined to make sure that we have the appropriate data for all of our clients, we have a list of ones that are absolutely necessary for us to get. And if we request it and they don't respond, then ultimately I will do a public records request to get that data so that I have it to provide my clients.
Good, and that's the proper way to do it, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
But 100% of these are voluntary. These are ones that participate with us regularly. So the ones, because we work with most of the cities and counties within Middle Tennessee. A couple of them are a little bit big for Steve and me because it's just the two of us. We don't work with Murfreesboro, Nashville, or Clarksville. And we don't work with White House, but I think we work with everybody else in that list, or have. So pretty much everybody in that list is voluntary. You're welcome. We also use a private industry database because you don't only compete with public sector employers for your employees. You also compete with business and industry, everybody else down the road, Walmart, Chick-fil-A, Target, and so, or other businesses. And so we have a business and industry database called Economic Resource Institute, the Salary Assessor. It is a nationwide database. It has over 17,000 job titles in it. So we can match pretty much every job within the city to at least one or two jobs within that database. The exceptions are, of course, your certified police and firefighters. Those are not going to be in there. But we can get just about everything else out of that database. We can and do narrow that data down to the Sumner County area. So we're not using New York or California or anything strange. We are localizing the data so it is relevant. And we project everything from both of our sources to July 1st so that when this goes into place for you, you are up to date and relevant and competitive moving forward. So we've projected all of our data to July 1st so that you aren't immediately behind. We have, after discussions and working with the mayor, Jesse and Jason, the decision was made that Hendersonville would be best served by being a little ahead of the market, so we targeted the 65th percentile. And so what we do is we take our municipal benchmark data and the business and industry data and average that together for each job. to get what we call a market rate for each job. And that market rate represents a seasoned individual in the position. This is not considered a starting rate for the job. It is intended to be for someone who is in the job for about 5 to 7 years. So we then compare that to the step 9 on your current pay tables. And that is how that compares. Okay, so this is not to be considered a starting rate when you look at the market rate. So, what did we find? Your current pay ranges overall, on average for the city, we're at 100.3% of the market. And this graph shows you how that was distributed, and it's very hard to read in itty-bitty print. Sorry about that. But I have the numbers right here. So what this is showing you is that you've got, as I said, on average, your jobs were about 100.3%. Now, ideally, we want, it's called a structure market index, and what we do is we compare the market rate to that step 9 of your job pay steps. And so that's where we want those ideally. You do have a handful of jobs that are the ones represented in the red columns at the right left-hand side. And in an established pay structure, that will happen over time because the market moves a little faster for some jobs and a little slower for others. And when they're all set up initially, they're all right around 100%, but then over time, as some move a little faster and some kind of lag behind, this type of thing happens. So when you do a pay study, things get adjusted back kind of appropriately. So this is actually a pretty good distribution for an established pay scale. We also look at employee pay rates compared to the market rate for each job. On average, your employees are at 96.4% of the market rates for their jobs. And so this graph will kind of shows you the distribution of them across. In general, we prefer to see them over 85%, but given that your market step is at step 9, the first 2 steps are going to be a little low, and that's expected. Over time, all of your employees will consistently move up. Another way to look at this for your salary market index for your employees is this way in a pie chart. So what you're seeing is that 12% of your employees are at less than 85% of market. And the recommendations being made later on in this presentation will address that. But generally, when you look at this, the ones in the red slice are the ones that we really want to address. Everybody else is in good position. The ones in green are those that are between 85 and 100%, and then the ones in blue are above 100% of the market rate for their own jobs. And that's typically where you want your employees to be living, is in the green and the blue. Any questions about any of that so far?
Sorry. So, are we assuming any type of pay raise for this year in calculating the indexes?
These initial indexes are just current pay rates right now. I will show you what this will look like assuming the recommendations are put through and what the results will look like. I have that later on. But this right now is assuming no changes. And actually, here we go. Perfect segue, thank you.
Beth, hold on one second. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. I was going to wait until the last, but I'm like you. I'd be afraid to forget my questions.
I would.
So much apologies.
So no, don't apologize.
I'm known for that, so I don't mind it. But
Since we are dealing with salaries and things, because we've had, during this past year, we've had issues with this, and we've had to go in and correct the things. I mean, nothing that I would consider that it's the city's fault at all, but we tried to do what was right and correct it, and we did, and it all worked out. But I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, and also dealing with the city as well as other municipalities that your company, I'm sure, deals with, but is it a customary thing for the top ranks, and you can generalize this, it doesn't have to be a necessarily, I don't know, Parks Department, let's just say, and I'm just using that because it came out of my AI brain out of there. But is it a normal thing for our top ranks to be being paid less than the lower rank that they are involved in? Does that happen a great deal? Or is it customary that happens?
I would say that I wouldn't say it's customary. I would say it definitely happens. It really depends on where you're at.
Okay.
I have had a very recent client, for example, when you're looking at the salary market index and where they are with respect to the market, the upper ranks, the directors and that level, were much lower with respect to their salary market index and they were very focused on, let's get the lower paid positions, let's take care of them, and don't worry about the people up at the top. They make enough money, we don't have to worry about them.
Okay.
And let's take care of the people under X amount of dollars. Let's pay more to them and not worry about these up here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've seen the exact opposite as well,
Right.
but not as often. That's kind of rare. And then I've seen the ones that are just, let's not worry about which level it is, let's just make sure everybody's where they need to be and take care of it. So, but I have seen that,
Okay.
where they're much more concerned about people at a lower rate of pay and making sure that the people at the lower levels have been moved up.
Well, I was just, thank you, and if I have another question, I'll write it out and wait.
No,
until
don't,
this
no.
question,
You,
but-
please interrupt as you need
But-
to.
It just seems like to me that if, that's something that should be rectified by the city, on the front, if it can be done, because it may not, without wrecking the whole system. And so,
Overall,
know.
it can be problematic to do that, to not worry about the people at the top and to make sure you're
right,
continuously bringing the lower grades up.
right, yes, ma'am.
The reason is because then you start to cause compression with those
Right.
upper pay grades. It's in a way, it's a noble thought because you're much more worried about people who may have a higher monetary need, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
And I get that and I understand it completely, but the issue is the more you do that and you don't move these higher grades with them, you're going to start bumping up, and these lower grades are going to have nowhere else to go. And then they're going to start making as much or more than people that they report to. And you're going to have to move those. And then when you do have to move them, you have to move them more than might be reasonable
Right,
or
yes,
look
ma'am.
reasonable. And then it's going to raise questions from perhaps your taxpayers or your mayor and aldermen
Sure.
and that sort of thing. So it's a delicate balance sometimes. And it can be hard to do, especially if you're the kind of person that says, well, I don't need the money, I want to give it to my people. Well, yes, but you're going to cause problems down the road.
All right, okay. Well, thank you for enlightening us, because we had that problem months ago, but we were able to rectify it, or it rectified itself. But I was just curious on that, and thank you for your comments on that.
No, you're
And
welcome.
thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Seymour.
You're welcome. So for recommendations, first of all, the recommendation, we intend to increase the pay grades, all of them across the board, by 2.8%. That means that, oops, when it's sensitive, and when I want to push it, it doesn't work. So that means that all steps in all grades would each go up 2.8%. The second thing we want to do is, right now, the part-time and seasonal positions are on their own little scale. There's like 5 little grades that are separate and managed separately, primarily for, I guess it's Parks and Recreation, and there's a couple of other random jobs in there. We want to merge those into the general pay scale. One of the things my colleague and I feels very strongly about is, if the job is doing the same duties as a full-time job, for example, they should be paid the same. If it's the same duties, they should be treated the same. That, and it's much easier, more efficient, and much easier to administer if they're all on the same pay scale. It reduces questions, it reduces confusion. So we feel like it would be just easier all the way around if they're all on the same pay scale. And in order to do that, we needed to add a few pay grades back into the general pay scale to accommodate that. So there's a handful of pay grades. They probably were there originally but dropped off because they weren't being used, and so we're just putting them back in at the bottom. So those are the recommendations for the overall pay structure. During this process, I've reviewed all of the jobs and their pay grade assignments. That was something mentioned earlier about reclassification of a job. There are a handful of jobs that we feel like are critical with respect to where they lie with their salary market index or structure market index. And so those jobs are slotted too low at the moment and have been recommended to be reclassified. There are some more that are on our watch list to kind of keep an eye on. We aren't recommending those to be moved right now, but to kind of keep an eye on how does the market move with those jobs over the next year or two, and they may be recommended for movement in the future. For salary adjustments, because of the pay grade change, the increase to all of the pay grades, all employees would receive approximately 2.8% increase. Some employees would receive a little bit larger increase because of the pay grade movements, particularly some of those part-time and temporary employees being moved on to the general pay scale. So what is the overall result of this? The cost, the COLA adjustment itself would be $902,820, so just under $903,000 for the COLA, and the grade reclassifications, as I said, those are just a handful, and that would be just over $34,000. So the total cost of these, and this is of course excluding payroll taxes, benefits, so this does not include your FICA, Medicare, retirement costs. This is $937,176 for the increase to the salaries. What this looks like with respect to your structure market index, before, as you recall, I said that the average structure market index for the job table was 100.3%. It would, with those reclassifications and the change to the pay grades, it would be 103.8%. Ideally, we want this to be somewhere between 95 and 105%, so you would be right in the appropriate range. The adjusted employee salaries compared to market, if you recall, that was 96.4% on average, And these increases would move that up to 99.9%, with half of your employees between 93 and 104.5%. So again, this would be placing employees at a more competitive position. And the graph that I showed you earlier, again, I know that this is teeny tiny print, but that 12% of employees that was less than 85% would move to 5%. And again, that is because your market step is at step 9. And so new hires, people being hired, brought in at step 1, or even if they're at step 2, they would be the ones that are in that 5%, the ones in red. But over time, the intention is to eventually get that step 9 moved down to step 7 by moving that step 1 off, and that could take a couple of years to get there. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't start that this year. That would be a future project. But eventually, the intention would be for that red to go away completely. So one question that comes up sometimes is what happens with cost of living increases in the future, and what we encourage our clients to really consider more is, rather than looking at cost of living, think of it more as cost of labor. So rather than tracking what cost of living does, look at what are your labor market competitors doing to address the cost of living. So, for example, if the cost of living goes up to 8%, you can't necessarily automatically adjust your pay grades 8%. That's going to be really expensive. But what you look at is, okay, what are all of your labor market competitors doing? What are other employers doing to address that big cost of living change? Are they doing 4%? Are they doing 3.5%? What is their solution to this? What are they doing with their pay grades? What are they doing with their employees? And so that is what we encourage our clients to look at, rather than just tracking cost of living as far as their own pay grades. We encourage you to consider looking at cost of labor instead. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. Do you have any other questions that I can help answer?
So far, nobody. Yeah. Beth, thank you. Any questions for
You're very
Jason?
welcome.
Okay, Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
I just have a quick question, maybe to you or Mayor yourself. So what is as a board, what is our next process here with this? I think that's incumbent upon us to know.
Sure. So our next step is incorporating the recommendations into the budget.
Okay.
So that has been done. Even the positions that are being recommended to be reclassified are worked into that budget as well. So that'll be our next step, is to make sure that we're rectifying the issues in red, if you will. Mm-hmm. That's going forward with the budget. Assuming that goes through and is approved, then it's monitoring the other positions that are on that watch list over time to make sure that we're still being competitive.
Okay, so will the board, I know that we had a discussion about coming to see you, and to talk about the study and everything, but will we be able to see this, each one of us as aldermen, on paper of what the determined, I know that'd be a lot, but.
Right, so that was also emailed out.
Okay.
To BOMA, so I can print that out if you need, but.
It's not the easiest thing to understand just looking at it.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was afraid of, because then I would have to have questions, I'm sure, that I would ask
And I'm
about
more than
that.
happy to sit down with you.
Okay, yeah.
I know Jesse has done the same, so, yep.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I missed the deadline because I was involved with some, family issues that had to get rectified, and they did this week.
Okay.
So I was not ever to get in one of those meetings, so I might have to set a special meeting for me.
Absolutely. Anytime you need, sir.
Alderman
Yeah.
Skidmore,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you, Mayor.
Alderman
All right.
Robertson.
Ms. Thompson, I do have a question for you. These pay studies are not inexpensive for a city. They're needed, but they're not inexpensive. So how often should a municipal have a pay study?
And we actually just had that discussion in the last meeting. One of the things that we sometimes do for clients is to kind of keep it from getting exorbitant in costs. One thing you can do is, after a couple of years, you can look at a subset of the jobs. For example, one thing we would do is look at a benchmark group of jobs. What we would do is make sure we got at least one job from every department and every pay grade. So that may be 40 jobs or so, 40 or 50 jobs out of the entire city. Review that, so that's a fraction of the cost of the whole thing. And that would help to identify if there were any problem areas, issues, anything like that. Help identify where the pay grades need to move at that point in time. And then a couple of years later, do a bigger study. Now, the advantage with us having a long-term relationship with our clients is that this time we've had to do the whole big full thing with department head meetings twice. And, it's been a little bit more extensive and had more time spent because we had to get to know all of the departments and spend a little bit more time doing that. In the future, if we were to come back and do another pay study, the cost would be a little less because we wouldn't have to go through as much of that groundwork. So, for example, if I were to come back in 4 years and do another study with you, I already know your departments. I already know your jobs. So I don't have to spend as much time getting to know you unless there's been like a whole restructure of a department. Then I would want to sit down with that department head and get to know what changes have been made. But a good portion of that work has already been done. So that's one of our advantages that we have with some of our long-term clients is those future pay studies aren't as extensive. But if you do a small subsection in a couple of years, that's much less expensive, and then a few years after that, you do another one. You could do the smaller one in 2 or 3 years, and then 2-3 years after that, do a bigger one. And that would keep you going. But you would want to look at your pay grades, at least look at them every year to see what other employers are doing. I mentioned earlier, Jason can always give me a call. We keep a really good handle on what's going on, especially in Middle Tennessee, since we work with so many of the other cities and counties. And so we keep in contact with all of our clients to kind of, well, one, a lot of them call us and ask us what everybody else is doing. And two, we want to get that information for when everybody else calls us to ask us what everybody's doing. So
Okay.
we are more than happy to provide advice in that respect.
We're going to hold you to the cheaper price. I think you said much cheaper. I think that there was an adjective in there. So I do have a question, though. We have picked the 65th percentile
Yes.
as a good benchmark. What do other municipals that you evaluate, what percentiles do they use?
Well, in the Middle Tennessee area, we actually have people going all the way from the 50th median all the way up to the 90th. We have a handful at the median, at least one at the 60th, maybe two. You're at the 65th. We have two at the 90th. And and I think we have one looking at the 75th.
And is that because of the size of the municipal, like Nashville would want 90% percentile?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what Nashville
Okay.
does. And it's not necessarily the size. Part of it has to do with the location. And I think this is, it is our policy typically to be very confidential with what we do for our clients, but in this particular case, I think it's pretty well known, so I guess I can share, but, well, we have one client that nobody can live in their city. Nobody that works for them can afford to live there. So they target the 90th percentile. Actually, it's two of our clients. Their employees can't live there. They just can't afford it. So they target the 90th percentile because they want to attract quality employees, but their employees have to live elsewhere, so they have to go further away.
And Alderman Robertson, seeing a growing similarity in that situation, I've said for a little while that I'd like to be in the 75th in the next 5 years. That costs money, so, yeah.
We stack up.
Yeah, okay.
And I think you've given me enough information.
appreciate it, Beth.
I'm satisfied.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Jason. Okay, appreciate it very much. Next, we have a presentation from our Deer Committee Chairman. Gerald, thank you for hanging out with us. Appreciate everything you're doing on the Deer Committee, and appreciate you basically sat through the length of a Deer Committee just to give us a report from the Deer Committee. So this is Gerald Baird, our Deer Committee Chairman. Thank you.
Now if I can figure out how to get to how do I do this? Oh, here we go. So while I'm waiting, thank you all for letting me be here tonight. I promise to be brief, which for me is always a challenge. But there's a couple of side bets on whether I can really stay under 10 minutes or not. And I won't tell you what the odds are right now, but so I'll either dazzle you with brilliance or baffle you. Anyway, I'll leave that right there. Okay, so quick update for you all. It's been since last fall when we last met. So the big thing we just had done was the annual survey. These are the peninsulas. You can see the hot spots that still exist, but the hot spots are not as hot. We'll get there in a minute. This is the two peninsulas. Of course, the south area of 386 in the Country Hills area. I would encourage you on the Country Hills area to look at the one extremely hot spot because I'll be coming back to it in a few minutes. And for those of you who might have been here at the earlier presentation, you might recognize where that is.
That's my house and your house.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So here's where we are. The total number of deer, and the three bars you see. The blue was the survey done in 2023 in the previous methodology. The orange or red, depending on which color it is, I think that's red, is the 2025, and then the green is 2026. So on the left, most one, you'll notice that this year and last year are statistically about the same. I think it's 12 deer difference. So one can argue that's certainly within the margin of error. On the Saunders Ferry Peninsula, you'll see that we're slightly down. The Indian Lake Peninsula, slightly up. And then south of 386, not much at all, and almost non-existent. And then, of course, the Country Hills Golf Club area, you'll see that the green is more. Now, while that doesn't seem like a lot, the far right one statistically is by far the most percentage increase. The two, I believe it shows on the next slide. Well, let me back up. Oops, went the wrong way, didn't I? Back. I'll stay here. The two peninsulas are both under 40 deer per square mile now, which is a significant improvement. And what's, to me, the best encouraging piece is that that seems to be pretty flat. You know, the Indian Lake, while it shows slightly higher there, percentage-wise, it's fairly small. The Country Hills area, however, is now over 60 deer per square mile. So that has grown over last year, and it is now our hot spot. Is that area? Anecdotally, you know, there's less area to be hunted over there in that area, although the mayor does have a deer stand set up on his back porch, as I understood. Just kidding. But anyway, there's just not near as much opportunity as there is out on the peninsulas where you do have some larger tracts of land, et cetera. There's been a lot of increase in hunting this last year or two through the initiatives that we've started and creation of or increase in awareness. So I believe that has a lot to do with the stabilization of the two peninsulas. And in the under 40 deer per square mile, that is manageable. So some would argue that it's not enough or too much, but it is a manageable number as opposed to where we get above the 50 and 60. As a reminder, the state average is in the low 20s. Okay, so you can see on the graphs, the blue was the 2023 study. The other two are our current studies, pretty close statistically last year and this year. So what does all of that mean for us? It means that we're pretty stable population-wise, particularly in the two areas that have been the hottest spots, which were the two peninsulas. That's where we've also had the most hunting, and I believe that to be the biggest benefit or the biggest reasoning behind that. And where we've had the least hunting is over the Country Hills area, and that, of course, indicates why we're growing there. So we're not in a bad spot with regards to population, et cetera, and certainly better than we have been in the last few years. So how are we getting there? This past year, we've talked about, we're getting ready to have our next deer education workshop. This is really about helping people understand how to protect your property, how to minimize damage from deer, and how to keep the deer uncomfortable in an area, meaning that you cut down on the amount of places where they feel they can set up and have a large party. We want them to not feel that way. No smorgasbord on the hostas is usually a good idea. So we spent a lot of time on the education workshop. Encourage everybody to come June the 13th, 8:30 to 12:30. You'll get to hear more about this survey. You'll also get to hear more about the Urban Bow Hunting Directory that was created last year. We did have over 480 people sign up for the directory. Candidly, there's still work to be done as far as getting the interaction working where we would like to from the homeowners contacting people within the directory, but it has in and of itself created a higher level of awareness, and I think most people will tell you that the amount of people wanting to hunt land and et cetera out on the peninsulas has grown dramatically. So we are also refining our processes, and we will continue to be so. And by the processes, we maintain a certain number of hard statistics each year through the Deer Dashboard. Then we also have a process where TWRA provides us with information that's sent out to the citizens at key times of the year, leave the fawns alone when they're being born, et cetera. And so all those processes now have been pretty much hardwired over the last year. And we met today with Jesse and Casey and Natasha, and they are actually we're going to hand those processes off now, so that those processes are hardwired enough that those will be, those will be managed internally by the city, which will make them more efficient as well. And then, of course, the city will also be administering the annual aerial survey, which takes it less cumbersome. I'm contacting USDA, they're contacting me, I'm contacting Jesse, and we're all doing all this kind of stuff. So we feel like we're far enough along in how that process should look that they're going to take responsibility of that, freeing the committee up from those things to allow them, to continue to explore new initiatives going forward. But again, please come on June the 13th and find out all about what we're going to be doing in the next coming year. Okay? Did I make it under 10 minutes?
Well, we don't know yet. Alderman Collins has a question for you. So maybe-
No. What questions does anybody have for me?
Could you email these documents to us?
I'm sorry, I thought they were already being put out, but yes, we'll get those out to
I
everybody.
appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Gerald? Oh, Alderman Bergdorf.
Hey, thank you very much, Chairman Barrett, appreciate it. Now, all these documents that you do see, the Deer dashboard, all that is on the city webpage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any place in particular, what else is on the city?
Well, the
webpage?
caveat is that the new survey is not,
New survey is not, that's right.
because I felt it would not be respectful to this board that has had us do this aerial survey to provide that information to anybody else before we provide it to all of you. So it has not been sent out, and perhaps that's why it hasn't already been emailed out to you. We wouldn't want to take all my thunder away, but you will be getting it, and you will have in your hands before it is posted out on the website.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chair, we appreciate you very much, and the success, you just put in graphs for us right there, and really shows what you and your committee have done. We appreciate it very, very much. And one of the pieces of data that we're going to work on in the near future is the number of car accidents that involve deer.
And that is on the Deer dashboard, and that's updated, and excuse me for not bringing that
No,
up,
you're fine.
Mayor, I know that's something that you've always asked about. We are continuing to significantly trending downward on the car deer collisions over the last couple of 3 years, so
Awesome.
thank you for that.
Any other questions for Gerald? Thank you so much for hanging out for a
Thank
little
you.
while. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So we mentioned this when we added to the agenda a few minutes ago. National Safe Boating Week. So I'm going to read this, and I want you to tell a little bit about why you're here and what your committee's doing. Okay, super. So whereas during National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard, the National Safe Boating Council, encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly, and whereas safe boating begins with preparation and through basic safety procedures of carrying communications equipment, wearing life jackets, attending safe boating courses, and staying sober when navigating, we can help ensure boaters stay safe. And whereas on average 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., of which 70% are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee, hereby support the goals of the Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 16th through 22nd, 2026 as National Safe Boating Week. And I urge the citizens of Hendersonville to use safe boating habits and wear a life jacket at all times while boating. Angela, do you want to tell a little bit of why this is coming up now and a little bit about the committee? I'd really appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Angela Holmes, and I'm the chair of the city's Lakeshore Committee. And so we're about a year in, so I'm due to come give you a report. But we've been finishing up our 2025 work plan. We are about to, one of the things on our work plan is a resource guide. A lot of times people boat or they move here and they don't know a lot about the lake or how it operates or safety. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were putting together information for folks in the city by the lake. And this is an effort we're undertaking to do some public awareness and education around safe boating. We're getting into boating season, and we will be sharing some messages on the city website about wearing your life jacket and boating sober. We will also be putting out some coloring pages for kids and some posters around at some of the places that service boating environment. And we are thankful to you for authorizing the committee, and we are happy to engage with folks. We just had a very successful meeting with Lakeshore property owners and the Army Corps of Engineers, which is always an interesting relationship, and so it's always a good time for them to come out. They change staff fairly often, and so it's important for us to continue to have sort of that annual meeting and we had about 85 people in this room attending, and so we are just hoping to raise awareness around issues on the lake, and so we thank you, and we will be spreading the word about National Safe Boating Week. So please share.
Any questions for Angela? I should mention, she's the chairman of the Lakeshore Committee. Thanks so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yep. So next item, we don't have any public hearings, so we are to minutes, and I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes that were provided to you for our April 28th, 2026 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin and a second from Alderman Garza. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes that were provided to you for our April 28th, 2026 meeting, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passed. Oh, we have an abstention from Alderman Martin. Okay. And then next we have citizen comments. We have one person signed up. Speakers must identify themselves by name and Mr. Little, I'm not going to read this. You're the last person that needs to hear these. So you probably know them all. This is Robert Little, Raindrop Lane, but you still have to abide by him, even though there is so.
My name is Robert Little, 314 Raindrop Lane, Creekwood Subdivision. I have now appeared before this body, submitted written materials, and provided supporting documentations required roadway design, striping, and pedestrian safety concerns in Creekwood. These concerns have been raised repeatedly, both publicly and in writing, are supported by residents' input and observed conditions. Despite that, the current configuration remains unchanged. The roadway on Creekwood Lane reflects the deliberate design decision. Vehicle lanes maintained at approximately 10 feet in each direction with a WL center line and edge striping, while pedestrian space was reduced to approximately 3 feet. That decision has real consequences. Residents are left with minimum spacing directly adjacent to the active roadway. There is no meaningful accommodations for safe pedestrian movement and no provision at all for bicycle use. This is a residential subdivision where residents have clearly requested safety conditions. This is not a theoretical concern, is the functional one. A continuous 3-foot path with adequate passing space does not provide a practical or usable pedestrian environment under normal conditions. It does not allow for 2 people to pass comfortably. It does not accommodate mixed use. And at places, the pedestrians are immediately next to moving traffic. I reviewed the applicable guidance, including the Americans with Disabilities Act, while maintaining minimum dimensions may exist under limited conditions. The current configuration raises serious questions about whether the design meets real-world accommodability and usable inspections when applied continuously in this manner. At the same time, no bicycle accommodations has been provided despite known demand. The striping reflects a standard vehicle-oriented roadway, not a balanced design that considers pedestrians or cyclist safety. This reflects a choice. It reflects a decision to preserve full vehicle capacity while reducing pedestrian usability, even after residents requested a safety alternative. As resulted in prior citizens' comments and in my April 14th submission, these issues have been formally presented to this body, to individual aldermen, and to the mayor. To date, there has been no corrective action and a clear technical justification addressing these concerns. At this time, I'm requesting that the city clearly state its position. The city consider the current pedestrian configuration be complement with applicable accessibility and safety expectations. If so, what specific standard supports that determinations? If not, what corrective action will be taken and within what time frame? This statement, along with the written materials I'm providing today, serves as a formal notice to the city of a pending claim on corrective action is not taken within the previous provided time frame. This form is a pre-suit notification to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Little. We don't have any items on the consent agenda. We can make copies and get this to the rest of y'all. And next we have ordinance and resolutions. The first item is Resolution 2026-16. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a proposal with Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, for a bridge project over Mansker Creek on Gallatin Pike. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin and a second from Alderman Skidmore. Any discussion on this? Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind that during our committee, I wanted to make sure that I asked for it to be a partless sponsor of this as well, a co-sponsor.
Without
And,
objection, we're going to add Alderman Skidmore's name.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2026-16, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2026-03. This is the first reading. An ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title II, Chapter 2, regarding Board of Parks and Recreation, Title II, Chapter 4, regarding the Golf Course Commission, Title 8, Chapter 2, regarding the Beer Board, and the 2025 zoning ordinance to allow compensation for members of certain boards. I'd appreciate a motion. We have a motion from Alderman Robertson. And a second from Alderman Garza. Now, I need to hand you, I think you all have the amendment. We sent it out by email, and then we set it in your desk. It's going to look like this. It's going to have 4 pages with a lot of yellow on it, and we need to amend that amendment. I think you all should see this. This is what we're looking at, okay? So I'm going to make a motion that we amend Ordinance 2026-03 with this. And do I have a second? And a second from Alderman Robertson. Alderman Robertson, now I have to make an amendment that we change this in one place. On page 3, on section 5, right above where it says E, we need to change that year to 2025. Yep. So it says section 5. It says the 2024 zoning ordinance. That should be 2025 zoning ordinance. Alderman Robertson, will you second that motion? Okay, so we have a motion, a second, to change that from 2024 to 2025. Any discussion on that proposal? This is just the amendment to change 2024 to 2025. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on what you have here, all the yellow. And with that change we made. But I need to go back to, gosh, it's probably been a year and a half ago that we had a version of this, and then about 2 months ago that we had a version of this. And was asked of me back then about other cities. And I was sort of stumped at that point. We did talk to some other cities, not many of them. And we found out that not many other cities pay, other than their governing boards and their planning commission. Some of them don't even pay their planning commission. But the reason that I didn't think it was too important to compare ourselves to those other cities was because it's not like what we just heard as far as our compensation study. We're looking, in the compensation study, we're comparing ourselves to other cities because our employees are literally, other cities are literally competing against us for employees. When it comes to our committee members, they're not looking at going to another city and serving on a committee. I mean, that's obvious. What we're competing against with our committee members are vacations, family events, work events, church events. And so it didn't make much sense to me to try to compete with other cities to keep those people as far as being a committee member. And my feeling also is that I didn't really care what other cities were doing. I want to set a standard. I want to be better than those other cities. very similar to the way that we reduced our grocery tax in Hendersonville. No other city had done that. And had we decided to do what every other city had done, we would have never reduced our sales tax on groceries. We did that, and it's been about 2 years, and now the mayor of Nashville looks at us as a standard and says, Nashville should reduce their grocery tax. So I want to set the standard. I'm not real concerned about what other cities do as far as them paying their committee members. But I also want to make sure we understand that this is not appropriating money to pay anybody. This is allowing it to happen. I think that the amendment that Alderman Robertson and our city attorney worked out, I think it's a great amendment, and I think it addresses some of the concerns we had a couple weeks ago and some of the concerns we had a month ago. Alderman Robertson, do you want to speak? Okay, Alderman Robertson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I have kind of a different reason why I'm motivated for this change. And it's basically on a fairness question. We have 3 committees in the city where training is required. The Planning Commission, it's required by the state, and they are compensated. BZA has training that is required by the state. They are not compensated. We have the Stormwater Appeals Board. We mandate that they do training through MTAS, and they're compensated. So at a minimum, we need to correct BZA. BZA is an important committee to this city. They take on some very weighty issues. And so let me walk through the changes, because really the changes make the bill, make the ordinance. So with these changes, there are 4 conditions where committees members may be paid. 4 conditions. Let me walk you through. First, those committees that are listed here, these are committees that make decisions. These are not committees that make recommendations to us, but they make decisions that affect the citizens of this city. So first of all, so the first parameter is they make policy decisions. The second parameter is, are they budgeted? So every year, this board will be able to look at the budget and be able to say, you know, yes, we will be able to fund the committees and commissions that are outlined in this ordinance. That's the second. The third is there has to be training. If a committee is not required to be trained, they will not be compensated. So that's the third condition. The fourth condition is they have to meet. You know, there are some committees that don't meet every month. And so those are the 4 conditions, that they are policy-making boards and commissions, that they have been budgeted by this board, and that's kind of the oversight that this board will have over the process. Third is that they are required to go through systematic training. And fourth is that they meet. So if they meet those 4 parameters, they will be compensated. They will be compensated just like the Planning Commission is compensated now. So it kind of brings up everybody to equal status to the Planning Commission on that. And so, and as it mentions also, a voting member may opt out. If a voting member says, no, I want to do this as service to my city, I'll do the training, I'll attend the meetings, but I don't want to get paid, then all they have to do is opt out, and then they'll be opted out. Now, the fiscal note on this, and I don't know, Mayor, if you've included this in your budget.
I haven't.
You have not for this year. But when if it was included, the only incremental change would be the BZA, because BZA is the only committee at this juncture that meets all 4 conditions, if we approve to make them part of the budget. So I think it's a good approach. And I will say that the County Board of Equalization, I talked to our representative to that County Board of Equalization, and they are compensated. So there are some county commissions and boards that are compensated. So, so again, I'm sorry for the lengthy explanation, but that is why I believe in fairness and that this is the right way to go. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Evans.
Thank you. Alderman Robertson, thank you for the clarification there, because I was kind of confused on where we were drawing the line, the delineation there. So right now, is it BZA is the only one that has required training and that they meet all that criteria. So that's the only one we would consider at this time. These others, it's just setting up a framework for them to have that, but they have to meet all those other requirements. And then who determines what that training will be? I guess that will be written or that will come later, is what that training will be. And is it going to be required that it's a monthly meeting for these other, or is it just periodic, or?
It will be up to us. It'll probably be periodic.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that any of the other committees would need monthly training, but periodic makes sense.
Yeah, not monthly training, but monthly meetings, or I didn't know what the.
So,
but that will, but I guess my point is that will be coming later for them to be able to meet the criteria of the training and the meeting and all that. It'll be spelled out what that should be for us to consider that.
yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable having Lance or Jesse or Tamara doing that without the board weighing in on that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Evans. Alderman Bergdorf.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Mayor, this is quite an interesting conversation we've had, and we kind of swerve into accidentally what Alderman Evans was asking about, the training aspect. You know, I would like to suggest, and one more quick question, if I may, just looking at the highlighted portion, Title 18, Chapter 2, Stormwater Management, Section 18-211, Appeals Board. Is that one that is already compensated, or is it not yet compensated?
They are compensated right now. They also have training, but they have not met. So this would make a change for them. Alderman Robertson, do you want to? Why don't you go ahead?
That's exactly right. So that Stormwater Utility Board, they do the training, but they don't meet. So they would not meet they would not meet the standard of this.
They would only meet the standard if they met?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
understood. Now, I like the rewording of this. I appreciate the effort that went into it, and I think that it's a great start. But what I would like to offer, everyone I've talked to, let me just go ahead and tell you, everyone I've talked to has told me that they don't understand why we want to present, offer compensation. Anybody knows government, and we're up here and we're spending taxpayer dollars. As soon as we open up a line item, we're at risk of filling it every time. For instance, we had a struggle last night. We didn't have a struggle. We had a finance committee where we questioned a lot of finances and we considered not paying them. I think that's a good approach to address this every year annually, whether it needs to be paid, whether it needs to be compensated, whether it needs to be in the budget. And that gives the board some control over that. Secondly, that was one of the things. Then the conversation I had with I've had with lots of different people have considered. I'm not going to change it. Have consistently suggested that it's just not necessary. It's not something that the city needs to spend money on. So those are my constituents that I represent, and they tell me that we don't need to pay for this. But I understand the training aspect of it. I would like to suggest a amendment, a friendly amendment, I think, reading through each one of these sections, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, where it addresses each board individually. I would like to, but before we do that, I would like to, at the whereas, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth whereas, what's highlighted, whereas the city finds it appropriate to authorize, I would like to mark out A, and then go on to limited, and I would like to substitute the words monthly stipend for compensation. That's the first one. Then, under section 1, at the highlighted section, I would like to, under compensation, voting members are authorized to receive compensation in an amount not to exceed $100 per month. I would like to strike per month. I would like to add for training, because as we've all talked about, we need to have trained individuals working with us. I believe everybody wants to be trained so that they do their job as well as possible and serve our citizens as well as possible. And the last piece, I would like to go to section 3 and strike out the section regarding compensation altogether. Leaving, of course, if desired, a voting member may opt out of receiving pay. I would like to do that on sections 1, sections 2, sections 3, sections 4, and the appeals board. Yes, and sections 5.
Alderman
Is that
Bergdorf?
understandable?
Well, maybe, but let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So we also have under each section a paragraph 1 that mentions training. So now we've got some redundancy there that doesn't have the same verbiage.
Under, demonstrate to me, please. Voting member, I don't see that. Maybe I'm overlooking it.
So so at the beginning of each section, you just changed it from per month to for training.
Correct.
And then the next paragraph, it says the voting member has training or education requirements imposed by city and the state of
It's
Tennessee.
still relevant because
Okay,
it's imposed by
okay.
city and state.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second from Alderman Sassy. So we're just
Now,
going
what
to
I'd like to do, furthermore, I would like to just try this and see how it goes. I mean, if we need to come back to it in a couple of years, I think, because this is not an end-all, be-all. This is just an idea, just trying to get us over the hump. Thank you.
So I don't consider this a friendly amendment because it negates part of the point of what we're trying to do is have some fairness among our boards, including this board, is that we get paid for showing up for meetings. I think that the other committees, all of us get, actually except for me,
Sure.
Get paid to show up to meetings. These other committees that make final decisions, I just don't understand why we
Well,
would.
I do have
Alderman Bergdorf,
I'm
hold on.
sorry, I apologize.
I don't understand why we would treat them differently, and in my opinion, go back to what Alderman Robertson said, treat them unfairly. That's my thoughts. Alderman Martin and Sassy had their buttons pushed. Do you want to hear back from Alderman Bergdorf? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the things it did come to mind, because I've been watching the city for a long time, and one of the things we had several years ago, we had a position in the city that was reduced, their salary was reduced dramatically, and that person, that mayor, did not quit because of the reduction of pay. He did not do it. He fought through it. He wanted to serve the city. He continued to work with the city in the position, and he succeeded. So the volunteer spirit, I believe, is much stronger than just trying to serve the community. Thank you.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Martin.
Is this going to be funded from operational revenue?
Well, there's no money that, it would be, but there's no money.
It would be in the future?
Yeah.
Okay. The timing of it seems a little off because we had We had the state of Tennessee tell us we have to increase our contribution towards retirement, and that really did violence to our budget. And we had to go, Jesse had to take it back and fix it. And then we also have on the horizon, we want to go from 60 whatever to 75, like you said earlier. And we are starved for operational revenue. So, not really a question, just a comment.
Okay, appreciate it, Alderman Martin. Alderman Collins.
I have a question for Alderman Bergdorf, for clarification. It's more than clarification. I just did not understand what you are proposing to change on section 3. Could you just restate that for me, please?
Yes, it's the same thing as on section 1. So it's the section, in each section, it's the same, well,
Changing,
section 3, okay, here we are. Again, voting members are authorized to receive compensation in an amount not to exceed $100 per training. Well, that is
okay.
for training.
I thought you said something about you used the word compensation, you want it to remove? Or did I
Receive
I maybe
compensation. That was in the first
misheard you?
section. That was in the whereas,
That
I'm
was in the
sorry.
whereas,
That was in the
okay.
whereas.
That's all I had, thank you.
Alderman
you.
Collins, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So when we were discussing this previously, I believe it was Alderman Garza that brought up, was it you that brought up about maybe we should pay for training? When they go train, no, okay. Well, some of us were, and I thought that was an absolutely great idea. I mean, we're talking about the thing that sets these boards apart is their training, but the other boards are meeting, and they want to volunteer their time for the meeting, which is admirable. We're the volunteer state, and we have a lot of people in our community. I've talked to several of them over the past, well, not last week, but the week prior to that, and a couple weeks prior to that, I had several people, same as Alderman Bergdorf, why are we looking to pay? I would love to serve on a board. I love my city. I love what the city stands for, and would love to be a part of that. But because of the training on these specific boards, I think it does make sense. And I stand by that recommendation that was made last time as well, which is why I seconded this amendment. I think paying for the training makes sense. This is something that they are doing in excess of what a legitimate board does, or what any of our other boards do. And we should pay them for their time for that, because they're not actually conducting the work of the city at that time. They're learning how to, but they're not actually conducting the work of the city. These citizens, they want to volunteer their time for the good of the city, and to better themselves, they want to take this training. And for that, I think we should commend them by paying them. And so I fully support paying for the training, but I can't support paying a monthly stipend, because our citizens want to give time to us. I mean, we get paid partially because we're here 2 times a month. We're sometimes here for multiple hours. We have to run a full campaign. That's expensive as well. So there's a little bit of compensation to kind of counteract that. And but honestly, I would do it without any pay. And if this board voted or wanted to vote on eliminating our pay, I would vote for that, because that's how important this city is to me. And I want to be a volunteer for our city, if need be. So I've talked to so many people that want to do the same thing. So, but I do want to get clarification on the amendment, as you did, Alderman Collins, because there are multiple items on here where it says per month. So, and I think there's also a numbering issue here. Like on section 1, it says 1, 2, 3, and then you go to section 2 and it says 4, 5, 6, and it repeats that several times. I think that's That's just a typographical error, though? I don't think we need an amendment for that, is that correct?
That's correct. It's clerical. I've already made notes.
Okay, great, thank you. But so, let's see, section 1, the amendment is, the amendment of the amendment of the amendment is per training. And anything else in that section 1 that is changing? Just section 1. 2-205, that whole there, piece there. Okay. Then I want to go to section 2. Okay. Number 3.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it, thank you. Number 3 in section 1, that will need to be, just strike that out.
Strike that out?
And then leave, of course, if desired, a voting member may opt out of receiving pay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Then going on, we would do the same thing each section throughout this, regardless of 1, 2, or 3, or 4, 5, or 6. Does that make
Okay.
sense then?
Yeah, so sections 1, 2, 3, and there's, yeah, okay, and then
Strike 3. And then
3
there'd
is also
be-
training, 2 is also training. And then what about section 4? Yeah, it also says per month there, so are we saying?
Yes.
Okay. Training, yep, great. And section 5, same thing.
Correct.
And then on each one of those, we're also marking out that third item.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But leaving, if desired, a voting member may opt out of receiving pay.
And then section 5, is that. Yeah, to me, that makes sense because of due to the items I mentioned, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. Alderman Robertson.
So, in the spirit of promoting volunteerism, Alderman Bergdorf, are you recommending to include the Planning Commission in eliminating their pay?
I'm not recommending that because that was passed years ago. I have no issue with that whatsoever. What I want to do is make sure going forward, we have a good plan in place. Now, like I said before, if this doesn't work, we can bring it back.
But that's inconsistent.
I just wanted,
Yeah.
you know, if we're gonna treat all of the committees.
Planning Commission is not on this ordinance.
No, but they're the only ones that would be the outlier,
Understood.
you know, in being paid.
How long have they been paid?
I don't know.
There's no sense in going to rewrite, going back to fix it.
Okay, all right. So I wonder if, since there are so many changes, if it wouldn't be a good idea, Mayor, for you to withdraw this at this time and let Alderman Bergdorf work with Lance and bring back a clean document?
I appreciate that. We don't have much on our agenda. I'd sort of like to push through.
Okay.
I appreciate
All right.
that.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Any other discussion on this proposed amendment? Jason, you ready for us? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Skidmore. Okay. Hold on, Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
So I just for a point of clarification that I'm asking under the rule, you're talking about now the amendments that has been proposed by my colleague, Alderman Bergdorf, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so then after that, we go to the ordinance as amended or
Yes.
your amendments.
Exactly.
I guess then we vote on that and then we vote for the ordinance one way or the other.
Yep.
Okay, here was my question. And I'm sure, and I will be the first to admit this evening, I'm abusing the Roberts Rules of Order. So if anybody wants to call me out of order, feel free, because I've got something else that I can come right back at you with under the rule. So best thing to do, I would just, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here, but my advice is let me go ahead and ask the question and don't try to trick me, because I'm going to trick you back in a big way. So let's just not go that route, and I'm being nice as I can possibly be. So my question is to you, Mayor, or finance or someone, what is the cost going to be if we do this, or do we even know? With providing all these amendments, and it, let's say that it passes, do we even know what the cost is gonna cost the city of Hendersonville?
You mean for the fiscal year 27 budget?
Yes, yes, or when this goes into effect, so it'd be 26.
So if what the mayor proposed initially were to pass tonight, there would be zero impact to the budget because it is not recommended in the budget for next year. If it were to be included to pay all of those committees as the mayor proposed, would be just under $35,000 for a year. But again, it's not proposed or included in the proposed budget.
And I'm not gonna propose it.
Yeah, the mayor has not recommended that in his budget for next year.
Okay, so I was gonna ask you, Mayor, and I really don't mean to put you on the spot, and I probably just should have called you, and that's on me. I mean, honestly, it is. It's on me. So it's not gonna be in this year's budget, correct? Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay, so it's 35,000. That's almost like half of a salary of a police officer, really. Okay, thank you, Mayor. And thank you for your indulgence on the Roberts Rule of Order.
So Jason, ready for us. So we're voting on the amendment that was proposed by Alderman Bergdorf and seconded by Alderman Sassy. Those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red. So let's see. So that passes with Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Ward, Martin, Sassy, Alderman Goodwin, and Collins in favor. Those against, Alderman Garza, myself, Alderman Garton, and Alderman Robertson. Okay, so now we're back on the main motion. That passed 8-4. Now we're back on the main motion. So we had my amendment, and then we had Alderman Bergdorf's amendment.
We're on this now.
We're on this one.
Hold on. The amendment that I made.
We're voting on that, but as amended.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we're back on the amendment that I propose as it's been changed by us and then Alderman Bergdorf's amendment. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Alderman Robertson.
I believe that the amendment, Alderman Bergdorf's amendment rewrote so I don't think there's a need to take up my motion. I mean, I think the majority has spoken. So I think we need to go directly to the Bergdorf's amended final motion on the ordinance. I mean, it wouldn't do any good. We're gonna have the same vote if we take up your amendment. So I don't see where we would, procedurally, I think we need to go.
So we have to go to here and add Bergdorf's items in there. Because if we just go to Bergdorf's items, we would actually go back to where we were.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Alderman Bergdorf's, excuse me.
You're right.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was wrong to begin with.
I'm
so
sorry.
It's nothing special.
I apologize.
Okay. Okay, so we're back on this with
Yes.
Alderman Bergdorf's proposal that is part of it. So any discussion at this point on this as it's been changed? Okay. All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red. Okay, so that passes. Do you need to press? Jason, can you start us again, please? Okay. So those in favor, press the green button. Those against, press the red one. It's this as it's been changed by Alderman Bergdorf's amendment. So that passes 10-2, voting in favor. Alderman Bergdorf, Ward, Martin, Sassy, myself. Alderman Goodwin, Garton, Collins, Robertson, and Evans. Those against, Alderman Skidmore and Garza. At this time, since I'm the only sponsor of this, I'm going to withdraw this. I think you're right, Alderman Robertson. We need to rewrite it because the explanation really should have been sent out to us ahead of time. And we need to make sure that we all know what we're voting on. So I'm going to withdraw it at this time. Our next item on the agenda is brief committee reports. And Chairman Garza from the General Committee.
Yeah, excuse me. We had a fairly light General Committee report. We had Resolution 2026-17, authorizing the installation of historic and informational signage at the Bradford Berry House through Mark Bergdorf, Alderman Bergdorf, and that positive recommendation to VOMA. Also, Alderman Bergdorf was the reading of Resolution 2026-18, a resolution to establish a partnership between the City of Hendersonville and the Bradford Berry Preservation Society for the purpose of preserving, restoring, and maintaining the historic Bradford Berry House, also with a positive recommendation. Resolution 2026-19, authorizing the city to apply for the Public Entities Partners, Safety Partners Grant. That went positive. We go for that every year. And a read of Resolution 2026-20, a resolution amending the job classification list and pay table, also with a positive recommendation. And then finally, the reading of Resolution 2026-21, a resolution amending the personnel rules and regulations for the City of Hendersonville, also with a positive. So we must have been in a real positive mood tonight.
Chairman Garza, thank you. Chairman Goodwin, Public Safety Committee.
We had a brief committee meeting. We discussed Code Red and some changes that we could make. More information will be forthcoming at a later date.
Chairman Goodwin, thank you. Alderman Martin, Planning Commission. Oops, there you go.
Thank you. So we actually had a very short meeting. It was only like 10 minutes long. We grouped all the consent items and site plans together into one and voted on them. Some projects that you guys would be interested in. The Wawa final plat was approved. That's located at 451 West Main Street. The project at 134 Shivel Drive, the owner's Rob Cushman, and it's a warehouse project going in between Imperial Drive and Main Street on Shivel Drive. And then we received the site plan for Lincoln Rockland. That's the warehouse that we talked about earlier, that they're building a road extension off of Rockland Road. That passed. N&N Moving Supplies, located at 216 Innovation Way. They submitted a site plan and it was approved. And then the Rugby Fields Pavilion Extension, that site plan located at 451 West Main Street was approved. And then we had Wawa submit a site plan that we reviewed in conjunction with their final plat. That was approved. I think that's going to be a nice project and a welcome addition to our city. Staff level projects approved. Hendersonville Business Park at 100 New Shackle Island. W.A. Shivel Addition, lots 1, 2, and 3 at 134 Shivel Drive. And then West Main Exxon Beverage Cooler Addition at 1082 West Main Street. Staff level projects pending. C.L. Powell Addition, lots 17 and 18, located at 134 Powell. And then the TBN Millennia Cottages across the street, that final plat located at 645 East Main Street. And the planning director comments. We're excited to congratulate Chris Williard for his promotion to the fire marshal position. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Chairman Sassy, Finance Committee. Oh, I still had Alderman Martin's microphone on.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think your report was longer than the actual meeting, Alderman Martin.
I think so too.
Yeah, so the Finance Committee bravely tackled the 2026-27 budget. We had a special called meeting yesterday, planned out 2 hours, but it was a solid and clean budget. We went through several line items, asking a lot of questions, even digging into the check registry and verifying that there's certain things that should we be paying for. And we had the staff they're looking into a couple things. But ultimately, the budget itself is strong, it's balanced, and I just wanted to give kudos to our staff to the mayor for their hard work on that, because, I mean, you couldn't ask for a tighter budget than this, especially with revenue not being, not keeping pace with the expenses that we have going out. It's a very strong budget, and I'm very pleased to pass it to the board with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Sassy. Next, we have BOMA report. Jason.
Beautiful. All right. Motion to adjourn.
There's more to it than that.
It looks pretty good. Motion to adjourn.
Jesse had a family obligation, so he recorded this earlier. What we could do is we could, vote to move this to just above adjournment, and we could go ahead and have our meeting with our city attorney, have executive session. Okay, so who made the motion?
I guess I did.
Okay, so Alderman Sassy and Alderman Ward to move the BOMA report after the executive session. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. We're going to go over in this room here, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back in our regular session. Alderman Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we pursue legal action against the Eagle View subdivision so that we can get the things corrected there as far as the build-out and the bridge and the road there.
Good with that word? Okay. Second. I have a second from Alderman Robertson. Any discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Jason, you ready for us? Here we go.
This evening, if you turn to page 27, if you look at the very top line graph, you'll see that local sales tax revenue is up almost 4% over prior year. That's good news. In the month of March, we collected a little over $100,000 more than we did in March of the previous year. Investment earnings are about $6,000 less from March of 25 to March of 26. We anticipated that with just less money in our investment account and with those interest rates being a little bit lower. If you flip the page to page 28, you'll see that local sales tax and permit revenue, when they're combined, are actually down from the previous year. And that's due to just less building activity and not as big of building projects come through this year. The bottom bar graph on page 28 shows our general fund operating expenditures at 4.5% higher than the previous year. That's pretty much what we expected to see, and we'll probably see that trend out through the rest of the year. Page 29 and page 30 go over the PIP fund. We don't have a whole lot of new information to talk about on the PIP fund, but we continue to track that to show all the revenue and all the expenditures for everything we collect for that half-cent sales tax. If you jump to page 31, it shows our fire and police calls for service are both up a little bit from previous years, but still within the realm of typically what we're doing. If you look at police calls, we're up 15%, but we did start reporting our calls a little bit differently beginning August of 25. So it's probably a little bit lower than that for actuals on calls for service. If you turn the page to 32, you will see that police and fire, when we combine them on fiscal year 2026, is much higher than if you look to the left of that graph and see fiscal year 2024. Again, we did do a different reporting method for calls for service for police, so that is a little bit skewed, but the trend is running upward for both police and fire calls. If you hop over to page 33, you'll see residential permits issued down, commercial permits issued up. And if you look at the bottom of the page, you will see a breakdown of the year-to-date permits and year-to-date inspections for residential activity. And if you look at the bar graph on the far right, the column on the far right, you will see that fiscal year 26 is lower than fiscal year 24 and 25. And that's why some of that revenue from sales tax and permit revenue combined is a little bit lower, just because we're not seeing quite the activities we saw the previous years. If you turn the next page, we have commercial projects approved, total projects approved, and then we give a list of some of the bigger commercial and residential projects that have been approved recently. On page 35, we have parks activities for the month of May, and I just want to remind everyone that the Isaacs will be out at Veterans Park May 25th. Gates open at 3 p.m., and that is a free event. They do a really great job. And then Friday, May 29th, at Drakes Creek Park from 9 to 11 is the Touch a Truck event. So both of those should be really fun, and they're free. Turn to page 36. You'll see stormwater projects actually completed. They actually exceeded our budgeted projects. So Trace and his crew have done a great job sneaking in some stormwater projects and completing those ahead of our schedule. Paving and lane miles is rising. Our completed is rising up to our budgeted. One of the big projects that we got done was the Saunders Ferry pavement. So that is much, much better out there. If you've driven Saunders Ferry lately, you will appreciate the new pavement. And then the last page of the report, page 37. If you go to the bottom of the page, you'll see vacancies in fire and police. Police still remains really low with one vacancy. Fire has 5 vacancies, so that is kind of a trigger for them to start their in-house academy, which they're going to start July 1st, and they should wrap up on September 25th. They're going to use an existing list we have of candidates, so we should have another 5 firefighters that'll be on our equipment beginning September 25th, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Does anybody have questions? Alderman
Okay, we're
Garza.
going to jump right into the report this evening.
Oh, here we go again.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Alderman Garza, a second from Alderman Garden. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Y'all have a good night. Appreciate your help tonight.
So